I'm deeply grateful to the officers of the Kupas Yontif organization, specifically Rab Mechi Reidler and his partners, Rab Meir Shimon Kalmanovich, Rab Chaim Bornstein, and Rab Naftali Burstein, for inviting me to come to speak to all of you. I thank as well Goldie Roth from the Shalohi organization, which is really an offshoot of Kupas Yontif, also for inviting me, and hopefully we can all be inspired together as we approach the Yontif of Shavuos. It is a great honor to speak for these great organizations. Kupas Yontif was founded so that Talmidei Chachamim and their families will be able to make Yontif in a dignified way, be able to have food and clothes for their children in a bakovedika way. And over the years, Kupas Yontif has given these Talmidei Chachamim, it's hard to believe, close to $1 million. That's how much has been collected over the years by these tzaddikim. And now this organization, Shalohi, which Goldie Roth told me about, now has girls giving $1 a day, so that Talmidei Chachamim that are chosen very carefully are given money every single day. Another Talmid Chacham who is sitting and learning and is known to be very diligent and very careful and abgehiten about his learning and very serious about the learning. Every day, different Talmidei Chachamim like that are getting close to $1,000 a day. That is incredible. So let us talk for a moment about the chashivas of Torah and about the importance of limud HaTorah. And so I want to tell you a very interesting story. Now, the Talmidei Chachamim who might hear this certainly remember and know the name of Rabbi Chana Wasserman, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. And he wrote a sefer, and the sefer is called Kovetz Ha'aretz. It's in Siman Vav, Ois Vav at the end, and he tells a story that he was a Talmud by the Chofetz Chaim, and he once asked the Chofetz Chaim this question. He said, we all know the famous pasuk in Parshas Vayishlach, Bereshis Lamed Beis Chafei, Vayevose Yaakov Levadoi, Yaakov was left alone, Vayeovek Ishimoi ad Alois HaShachar, and the Malach fought with him until dawn. And Rabbi Chanan asked the Chofetz Chaim, why did the Malach wait to fight with Yaakov Avinu? If he wanted really to get rid of Yidden, the Klal Yisrael, he should have fought with Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was the first Yid. Should have fought with Yitzchak. Why did he wait to fight with Yaakov Avinu? And I want to tell you the teretz that Rabbi Chanan wrote in the name of the Chofetz Chaim. And to me, it is so precious the way he writes it. He's quoting the Chofetz Chaim and he writes Shlita. So obviously he wrote this while the Chofetz Chaim was still alive. And I want to tell it to you in Yiddish, and of course I'm going to translate, because the Yiddish is so dear to me. And this is what the Chofetz Chaim said. He said, the Yetzer Hara, sa'artem nit a Yid can fasten, can weinen, can davnen, a ganze Tag abinit lernen. That means a Yid, the Yetzer Hara doesn't care. Let him daven, let him fast, let him cry a whole day, as long as he doesn't learn. In other words, that Malach understood that Yaakov represented Torah. And Torah is the nitzchias, the eternity of Klal Yisrael. And without Torah, Klal Yisrael cannot continue from one generation to the other generation. And that's why the Malach waited to fight with Yaakov. Avram represented Chesed, Yitzchak represented Yerushalayim, but Yaakov Avinu represented Torah. And that is the true nitzchias and the eternity of Klal Yisrael. So I want to share with you also something very, very interesting. Many years ago, in 1900, there was a great Talmid Chacham that came to America. He was known as the Ritvaz, but his name was Rabbi Yaakov David Azuloi. And he was writing a commentary. He was writing a Perish on the Yerushalmi, and it's printed today with the Yerushalmi. And he took many, many Mefarshim, and he wanted to print an edition of Yerushalmi that would have the Mefarshim, that would have the commentaries, his included. And he came to the Pike Street Shul, which was the biggest shul in the Lower East Side at the time. And he gave a tremendous drasha. And in the drasha, he said like this. He said, we know that in the past, there have been Shabbos Yidden. There were generations where people kept Shabbos. They would go to shul in the morning, but then in the afternoon, they went to work. So they kept Shabbos for a while during the day. but they didn't give it over to their next children, next generation. Their next children, the next generation became not from. They were kashrus yidden, he said. There were those that were makbid on kashrus, but then again also, they couldn't give it over to the next generation. And the next generation didn't carry it on. And then there was tefillah yidden, some yidden who would daven every day, but they couldn't give it over to the next generation. And he said the only way that you can give Yiddishkeit over to the next generation is if you are a Torah Yid, if you build yeshivas. And that was the thing that the Ridvaz stressed so much when it came to America, that we need yeshivas in America. And of course, in those days, it was lacking. And he said, if we don't build yeshivas and we're not learning Torah, there's no future in Klal Yisrael. And that's exactly what we're talking about. That Torah is the nitzchias. That's what's everlasting in Klal Yisrael. Now, truthfully, I did not understand when Ms. Goldie Roth told me that the name of the organization that she's involved with, where the women give $1 a day, Shalohi. I didn't understand, what does it mean, Shalohi? Until I saw the website. And then I realized what it's all about. We know that the Gemara tells us, in Ksubas, Daf Samach Gimel Or Aleph, the Gemara tells us when the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva came back, and Rabbi Akiva was going to go to talk to his wife, and they were pushing her away. And he made the classic comment, Shali v'shelochem, the Torah that I have and the Torah that you have, Shalohi, is hers. Shalohi, that's the name of this organization. And when these Talmidei Chachamim are learning and being supported, it's Shalohi. It's coming from these women who are Erlecha, wonderful people that are supporting and giving $1 a day so that they should be able to continue learning every day. And to me, it is fascinating that we are making this presentation during Sfira. Because after all, who do we talk about more than anybody else during Sfira? Except Rabbi Akiva, who used those words, Shalohi. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. I don't know if you ever thought about this. Imagine if you were Rabbi Akiva. 24,000 Talmidim dying within a period of 33 days. If you were Rabbi Akiva, what would you do? What would anybody do? They would say, okay, I get it. Hashem, I'm out of here. I'm not going to teach Torah anymore. Obviously, you don't like me. You don't like my Talmidim. And you got rid of them. 24,000. You know what that is? 727 Talmidim dying a day. Imagine Rabbi Akiva is running from Haifa to Tzfas, to Tver, to Yerushalayim, to Ashdod, to Ashkelon. All these places giving us space. He can't continue. But you know what? He didn't give up. He said, we made a mistake. And if you take a look in the Medrash, Bereshis Rabbah, Samach Aleph Gimel, it tells us that he took 7 Talmidim. Some say it was 5, others say it was 7. And he said, look, Rabbi said, we made a mistake. We didn't teach them about kavod, giving kavod one to the other. We taught them Torah, but it was not enough. As Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg once said, they knew Avos Yisrael, but they didn't have kavod for each other. And if that's the case, he said, we have to start all over again. He didn't give up. And then the Medrash tells us the Lashon, Umalu Kol Eretz Yisrael Torah. He filled the whole Eretz Yisrael with Torah, because he didn't give up. And he knew that they had to start all over again. I want to show you something interesting. I don't know if you ever thought about this. You know, there were 3 people, I don't know if you want to say they were in our generation, but certainly in our era, that were the Rabbi Akiva of our generation. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, Rabbi Yemei Bloch, and the Satmar Rebbe. All of them came from Europe. All of them saw terrible, terrible devastation. Rabbi Aaron came to America, and what did he say? He's going to start all over again. They're going to start, and they built the Lakewood Yeshiva. Rabbi Yemei Bloch went to Cleveland, and he built up the Telz Yeshiva together with Rabbi Motto Katz. And the Satmar Rebbe, of course, came to America and to Brooklyn, and look what he built up. All of it was Torah. All of it was with Yer Shemayim. But the main thing was the yeshivas and the young men learning, because they knew that that is the only way that you can build a generation, a Yiddish generation that's going to carry it on from generation to generation. And if that's the case, look how wonderful it is that we support Kupas Yantif and Shalohi. We're supporting these organizations by giving money and making sure that the Talmidei Chacham can learn, and they are the ones that are going to pass on Torah through example, through their children and grandchildren, through their lumdis or their teaching. That's what they're going to do, and that's what we're here for. So I want to share with you something that's very dear, and then I'll tell you a fabulous story. Right in the beginning of Tehillim, actually the second pasuk, it tells us, Ki yim b'soiras Hashem cheftzoi, that your desire should be in Hashem's Torah, u'b'soirasai, and in His Torah, yege yom v'leila, you should be thinking day and night. That's a simple meaning of the pasuk. The Gemara says, you know what it means? In the beginning, it's called Toras Hashem. Ki yim b'toras Hashem, you should have a desire. And once you learn it, it becomes your Torah. And in His Torah, then you learn day and night. So that's what the Gemara says. And then but then when he toils in it, it's called his Torah. Now I'll tell you what my father Olav Shalom said, and I'm very proud of it, and I must tell you that he lived by this credo, as I'll explain it, and I even had this pasuk put on his matzeva. And he said like this: every person has to desire to know Kol HaTorah Kula as much as you can, whether it's Chumash and Tanakh and Gemara and Medrash, Kim B'Seres Hashem Cheftzai. However, every person should have a field of Torah that he becomes the expert in. Could be Hilchas Sittis, could be Hilchas Kriyas HaTorah, Hilchas Shabbos, Hilchas Mila. That was how my father lived. He had every sefer that was ever printed on Bris Mila in his life. And when he couldn't get that sefer, I know that I went and I got microfilms of those svarim when I was in Eretz Yisrael, and he printed them out. That was his Torah. In other words, Ki b'seres Hashem cheftzei, a person has a general love of Torah, and he should know as much as he can, and in his field of expertise. As we said, everybody should take one chelik. I know somebody who's a tremendous mumcha in Hilchas Gittin, another person who's a tremendous mumcha in Basa B'chalav. And by the way, my father always used to tell me, if somebody wrote a sefer on a specific topic, make sure you get it, because he became an expert in that field because he wrote on that field. So I want to tell you this great story, and we'll see about love of Torah. This story, Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky told it to me himself. Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky, of course, was from Eretz Yisrael. He was originally from the Vardok, and he was a very lebedika, spry person. He was very, very short. And he told me that when he was a young boy, he was very wild. And his parents didn't know what to do with him. What yeshiva are they going to send him to? So they weren't going to send him to Slobodka, because Slobodka was godless Adam to tell everybody how great they were. And he was a kid already, and he was thinking how great he was. So how's he going to be toned down? So his parents decided they're going to send him to Navardak. Navardak was much more strict and more controlled. And they figured maybe they'll be able to control him and help him build and fill his potential. So he told me that he came in to the yeshiva, and he walked over to the mashgiach. He was very short, so he had to look over the desk of the mashgiach, and he said, "I'm here." He said, "What do you mean you're here?" He said, "Well, my parents sent me here to Navardak." So the mashgiach told him, "This is not how you come into a yeshiva. Why don't you go down the block and learn some musar? There's a shul there, get a musar sefer, and you'll learn a little bit of musar, and then you'll come in, and we'll talk about your being accepted into the yeshiva." So he told me he was sent down to the yeshiva before he even got accepted. Now, it was already getting dark. It was like almost evening. And he came into that shul, nobody was there. He walked in through the back, he opened up the door, and he noticed that up front, by the front table, there was a young man. He could only see him from the back. And there were a few candles on the table because there were no lights, no electricity there. And he was learning a Gemara. And Rav Yankov told me that he was transfixed by the tune of the way this person was saying over a certain phrase, over and over and over. And this phrase is taken from Erevin Nun Daled Amud Aleph. And the young man was singing to himself. Chatoif v'echol, chatoif v'echol, chatoif, chatoif, chatoif v'ishtei. That means grab and eat, grab and drink. Because this world, the high alma, the azlina minei, this world that we're going from, kibeh hilul adamya, it's like a wedding. You come to a wedding and you could eat as much as you want, but it's going to end. And that's what this world is. Nobody lives forever. And he kept on saying, Chatoy v'yachol, grab and eat, grab and drink, Chatoy v'yishtei. Because the high alma of this world, the azlina minei, kibeh hilul adam, it's like a wedding. Now, he understood what that meant. That the young man was saying, grab and eat, grab and drink, grab and eat, drink Torah, eat Torah, learn Torah, because you're not going to be around forever. And make the most out of every moment. And he was so taken by that young man singing that over and over and over again. He felt humbled. And he went back. And he went back to the Mashgiach. And he said, I heard what I had to hear. And he was accepted and he became the great person that he was. And you know when he told this story the first time? One of the main times that he told it was at the Levaya of that young boy. That young man came out to be the stipler. Could you imagine? Rab Chaim's father, Rab Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky. And at the hesped that Rab Yaakov Galinsky gave, that's when he told that story. How we heard the stipler as a young man, maybe he was 22 at the time. If that, I don't know what age he was. And that's what all of you are supporting. You are supporting these young men that are sitting and learning daily because they want to do just that. Because we're not going to be around here forever. Let's make the most of it and what they are doing with Torah and Yer Shemayim. And I just want to end this thing from Reb Aaron Kotler, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, and this is brought in the Mishnah, Reb Aaron. The pasuk tells us in Mishlei Gimel pasuk Yudches, Eitz Chaim hi lemachzikim bo v'seimcheha ma'ushar. Eitz Chaim, the Torah is a tree of life to those who hold on to it, those who are masik it, those who support it. V'seimcheha, and those who support the Torah, me'ushar, they are praiseworthy, they are fortunate. And listen to what Reb Aaron said. He said, this is what the Chacham Mikol Odom wrote. V'seimcheha me'ushar. That means she'al yedei temichas haTorah, through supporting Torah, shaloi tipol chas v'shalom, that it shouldn't fall, and you're helping support those Talmidei Chacham that are sitting and learning, zoiche bezel hamatzovah shel me'ushar. You are going to be fortunate. We all want to be fortunate. We all want that Hashem should make us, our children, grandchildren, and Mitzvah Hashem, great-grandchildren, to be fortunate. How do we do that? V'seimcheha me'ushar. And Reb Aaron writes, Elu machzikei haTorah, Heim shutfim lagamri. They are equal partners. Let us support Shalahi. It's a wonderful organization. Give every day so that the Talmidei Chachamim, that they learn, you have a chelik in that. V'semcha mu'ushar. You'll all be fortunate. The Eibusher should bench you. You should have bracha and mazel and hatzloch in your life. Thank you for inviting me and thank you for listening.
Stood at the foot of the mountain, touching the heavens on high. Our neshama is aflame with Hashem's holy name, a moment that lasts for all time, a vow for generations to heed, to hear and to hold, to nurture that fire, to reach and aspire uplifting our hearts and our homes. Master of the world, I stand here today. I yearn to fulfill the promise I made. I want to rise and to soar and to be so much more. With the Torah to guide me, my purpose, my core. It's the source of our being. Ki ein chayenu, in a home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu. A castle, a haven, protected and warm, where all those who enter are safe from the storm. I pray every day that my dream will come true. A home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu, a Mishkan for you. Can be a palace for all of the dwellers within. I know I've been chosen, I'm wearing a crown, for I'm a child of the King. In thought, in deed, in bearing, in every choice that I make, I seek to connect with Hashem up above, and the Torah will show me the way. Master of the world, I stand here and say, I yearn to fulfill the promise I made. I want to rise and to soar and to be so much more. With the Torah to guide me, my purpose, my core. It's the source of our being. Ki ein chayenu, in a home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu. A castle, a haven, protected and warm, where all those who enter are safe from the storm. I daven every day that my dream will come true. A home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu, a Mishkan for you. Inside this shining palace, my goal, my vision are clear. Each mitzvah, each bracha, each plot that is learned is a jewel in the crown that I bear. Though I may see dark times, the Torah's light never dims. In the glow of the candles, I whisper these words, V'zakeni legadel boni. Master of the world, I stand here and pray. I yearn to fulfill the promise I made. I want to rise and to soar and to be so much more. With the Torah to guide me, my purpose, my core. It's the source of our being. Ki ein chayenu, in a home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu. A castle, a haven, protected and warm, where all those who enter are safe from the storm. I daven every day that my dream will come true. A home for our Kodesh Baruch Hu, a Mishkan for you. With the Habas HaTorah that raises us up, for throughout all the ages, it's how we survive. The Torah gives meaning to our for you. More with the Torah to guide me, my purpose, my core. It's the source of our being. In a home for our Kadosh Baruch Hu, a castle, a haven, protected and warm, where all those who enter are safe from the storm. I daven every day that my dream will come true.
It's been 8 years since we started with Kupas Yontif, which was based on giving Yingalayt for Yontif.
The goal always was not just to help Yingalayt Yontif time, but to always be there for Yingalayt in any way possible. Baruch Hashem, after seeing the tremendous Hatzlacha of Kupas Yontif, we started this new division called Shalahi. Being a young man and sitting and learning is more than just showing up to Seder in yeshiva every single day. It's a way of life. It's a mahalach hachayim, and his children, his wife, they all are part of that life that stems from a real avas Hashem, ava for the Torah.
A young man who toils and learning all day, who sits from morning till night, harving and learning, that is how the world is existing, and that is the kiyum ha'olam.
And when Hashem created the world, He created it in a way that there's going to be a Yisachar and there's going to be a Zvulun. There's going to be those that are sitting and learning, and there are going to be those that have the opportunity and the chance and the schus to support them. Someone who taps into that schus, they're joining in with that higher lifestyle.
Yisrael v'iraisa v'kudsha brichu chadu. Every Yid represents the Torah. Every Yid has a chelik in Torah. Shalahi gives you an opportunity to have even a bigger chelik in the Torah.
Every one of you wants to be connected to Torah. This is the opportunity to take that to the next level, to build that real connection on a constant basis.
When somebody joins the Shaloyi family, they're not just reaping the benefits of their dollar donation. They're reaping the benefits of the unified group's accomplishments, of the many Talmidei Chachamim that are going to be recipients.
The support gives them the menuchas hanefesh to be able to learn even stronger and even better.
When a young man receives a check, they're receiving a message. That message is, someone is machshav my Torah.
If you're under 65 days, a year, you are connected to the Torah. When that young man is sitting and learning, he is learning with the help of your dollar. That is a direct connection that you could have with the limud of Torah.
Tomorrow when you go out to work with such a thought that you'll be able to be one of the partners of the Shaloyi family and supporting Torah, it will have such a deeper meaning to your whole day's work.
Shali v'shalachem shalahi. Are you taking part tonight in this monumental event? You're showing that you're part of Yisrael v'iraisa v'kudsha brichu chadu.
My bracha to you is that all of you who will take this opportunity to take part in limud Torah will be zeicha to a life full of bracha.
בנות יקרות וצדיקות, שבאתי לארגון הנפלא והחשוב שלו היא, שאתם בנות יקרות צדיקות, תורמות ועוזרות לבני תורה אמיתיים, עמלים בתורה. איזה זכות יש לכם. בזכות שאתם עוזרות, אפילו $1. אתם לא יודעות מה שזה. בזכות זה, תזכנה כולכם לחתנים לומדי תורה, תלמידי חכמים גדולים, יראי שמיים, לילדים צדיקים גדולי ישראל, פרנסה בשבע חמות, בריאות, כל ישות, הצלחה, בריאות, פרנסה ונחת. זכות עצומה וגדולה נפלה בחלקכם. תזכו למצוות ותודה רבה רבה רבה. אשריכם. יש קונה עולמו בשעה אחת.